When it comes to picking your keywords, it pays to do a little bit of investigation and have a bit of a play around rather than just go for the obvious ones. Now, I want to use locksmith to show you why. Now, locksmith is a very, very competitive and lucrative keyword, but you do have to be able to convert the people that you get to click, because you're talking about anywhere between, $10, $11, $12, $14 per click is what Google recommends, although I've shown you that you don't need to bid anything like what they say here. But if we go on these, as you can see, you can't afford to get, say, 10 clicks and not have that person convert into a customer, or you're going to have to pay them, charge them $400 for a job. So that's not going to work out. But as we know, you can get it lower. So anyway, let's have a look, dive in and have a look. So the obvious keywords that people are going to start to search for would be, suburbs. So I've picked New York here just because it's an international city and most people know all about it. So that's the area we're talking about there. And if you go to Google Maps and you zoom in, or zoom out, sorry, I'm already zoomed in, you can see that, we're talking about the city area, and straight away it's made up of Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, and probably Manhattan. And then if you, Staten Island, sorry, Manhattan here. But once we start to zoom in, you can start to see other suburbs popping up around the place, okay? And then if we zoom a bit further, they pop up again. So that's the exact sort of criteria that you should use as you start your geo investigation. So you start with the big ones like New York, NYC, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx. See what Staten Island, Jersey City. You might, depending on how far you travel, you'd probably do a radius like so. Okay, and then what you want to do, if this is a big enough area for you to work in, then we start zooming in and we start searching all of those keywords, right? So you end up with something like this here, whereas I've done it, right? And you'll come across some little gems, like, for example, Williamsburg. It's only got a bid of $6.25, but it has average search volumes of 320 per month. So that one's going to be well and truly worth going after. Whereas as opposed to, say, this one, Borough Park, and by the way, I did search it correctly up here, but it's changed the spelling down here for some reason. Maybe that's what people type in. Has come up as only 20 for the same bid. So clearly, this one here's got chances of getting you a lot more customers at a competitive bid. Same with this one, Canarsie, okay? And then possibly these ones might be worth bidding on, Ridgewood and other suburbs like that. But then let's take it a step further. Now this is where it gets really interesting. What I did then was sort of went over here and went up. I'll show you up the top, okay? So I put in these here. I put in different search terms. And you can swap up this suburb. So you can try Canarsie and you can try... so it's actually better if you create your initial list in a spreadsheet where you can copy and do a search and replace. And you can search and replace certain columns and just replace the word New York with Brooklyn. And you replace the word, then in the next column, you copy and paste it and you replace the word Brooklyn with Canarsie. And you just keep doing that so that you can come and cut and paste in here. And you end up with all these search terms like 24/7, all hours, emergency. And then what I did is I clicked Get Ideas. Okay, so you can see I didn't get much luck when I just searched those three. But when I said Get Ideas, and then I go down here, and by the way, when it first comes up, this is going to come up listed by, relevancy it's going to come up as. And so you're going to get terms like this, and you're not going to get real excited, because if you have a look over here, they're all 10 and 12 and 20, $30, okay? Here's one that's not too bad, $7. So you can start to get excited about that one. That one's irrelevant because that's for locksmiths, okay? Now, what I like to do, though, is go here and go, righto, well, let's see if there's any diamonds in the rough. So I click on Suggested Bid, and I click on it again so that it's telling me the cheapest keywords. And then I just start scrolling, and I start looking for relevant keywords. Now, okay, excuse me. So when you get down here, you start to see that there's some interesting ones coming up. So, as for example, Hoboken, which I presume is a suburb. Now, that might be irrelevant to you, but let's keep going. Okay, so here, Locksmith, West Village, 170, $4.14. That's a great opportunity there. By the way, if you find other ones, that are 20 and 30 and 40 and 50, okay, they by themselves might not get you excited, but if you find 10 of them, well, there's 500 per month potential search volumes that you can jump in front of, okay? And you might get 50 clients out of that. So if we keep going, then we've got Greenwich, 260 for $4.37. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Look at this. Who would have thought to do this? Pump in your postcodes or your zip codes. So Locksmith, 10128. You got 50 and it's $4.51. And there's a whole list of those, like 1011. This one's a perler. Look at this, 390 and it's only $4.57. So if you'd have gone for these original and only bid on these original search terms, which we had back here, okay, like Brooklyn, Queens, etc., you're going to be paying $12, $13, $14, $15. And even if you don't need to pay that much, because we might bid for, say, position 2.5, and we might only bid $5, imagine comparing that to these types of terms where you might be getting them for like $1 or $1.10, and you're still getting great search volumes. So, and NY, that's another thing that keeps coming up. NYC is another one that comes up, so abbreviations. So then we'll just keep going. We'll go up in price a little bit. So then in comes other terms like auto locksmith. Okay, now I'm not a locksmith, so I can't tell you, but perhaps that's a lucrative area for locksmiths. So then you would repeat that search with, in your spreadsheet, you'd replace, say, 24/7, you'd replace it with auto for all those various suburbs. The other one is locksmiths near me, okay, and then maybe the postcode. You could try all those combinations. So what I'm saying is if you're going to run a campaign for months or weeks or whatever, or you're going to get paid lucratively as an agency to run these for someone, it is worth spending a couple of hours or an hour or more researching this and using a spreadsheet and coming up with all the various combinations and plugging these in and seeing how they go. So you can see, 24/7 Locksmith, New York City. And now we've got to go over to the next page, and so it's going to jump in price a fair bit. I'll just scroll up to the top. So we've got the cheaper ones again. We're starting to get reasonable price here, but I presume that's another suburb. Professional locksmiths, it's tiny search volume, high price, not worth going after. Okay, so I've copied some of these into Excel, and what I've done is just pasted them there, and now I go find, so I go up here and go find and replace, and I go replace Brooklyn with Canarsie. Okay, and let's go replace, replace all, sorry. Okay, so it's done all the ones I had selected, which was there. Now, I'll just insert, so I copy these, and I paste them there, and I want to replace Brooklyn with Brooklyn Heights. Okay, replace all. Okay, so now, as you can see, we're rapidly getting bunches of keywords. So we can use suburbs, and we can also replace, when we want to replace the types of words, if we find them, we can replace, like house. So for example, if I came up with a new one instead of house, like caravan or camper or RV or something like that, I could just, and I had, say, 30 columns going across here or whatever with all the different suburbs, then I would just go there and go replace, what are we replacing? We're replacing house with RV. Okay, and go replace all. Okay, so now we have, as you can see, imagine this spreadsheet's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, or you're going to use it for different geolocations, or decide to add suburbs or variables or whatever. That's a quick way to do it. And then all you do is you just grab each of these and start bringing them into your AdWords. Okay, now when you start doing this in spreadsheets, one thing which I forgot to mention is you must put commas on the end so that when you paste them into AdWords, you've got the commas there ready to separate them. So all I did was use the find and replace tool again and went replace Brooklyn with Brooklyn, comma, and replace Heights with Heights, comma, replace Canarsie with Canarsie, comma. So if you use this uniformity, like I have here, you're going to find it very easy to replace things. And when you make mistakes, you'll find it very easy because you can just select a column and you'll have uniformity going that way, or you can select a column and you'll have uniformity going that way. Whereas if you end up very random, then it becomes quite difficult to do the replacements. So then what I did was I came back and pasted those in AdWords, and as you can see here, the results have come up, and we haven't yielded a whole great amount of new information, but by the way, we've only pasted around about sort of probably 18 or so keywords, so it's not to be expected. But if we multiply that out across, say, 25 suburbs and we went 10 or 15 deep, then we'd end up with quite a good list here, and then we'd be able to go picking through for these lower price ones, like that one there, but it's got 70 per month and no bids on it, or this one here, you know, that's half or almost a third of the price of other ones.